Oh, yeah. Fun week so far. All right. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, to Cast Iron Wednesday. This is a long running tradition that a number of YouTube cooking channels, or at least the smaller cooking channels, have been doing for the past several years now. Not necessarily everybody and not necessarily every week, but a lot of channels, including mine, have been doing a cast iron video every Wednesday because, of course, that gives us an excuse to have fun and play with our cast iron. And why not? After all, quite a few of us feel that cast iron is probably simply the best cooking tools you can use, and I hope we've been demonstrating this week after week. But of course, the important thing, namely, comes from having fun with cooking, whether you're using cast iron or otherwise. And I've certainly been having a lot of fun here, and that's why I've been doing this almost every Wednesday now for 3.5 years. And come this August or so, it will be actually 4 years. And somehow I've managed to survive it. Not only that, but there have been a lot of people here who seem to show up regularly on my channel. And as always, I can only thank everybody for being kind enough to show up here and to welcome you all to my kitchen tonight. Thank you to everybody here who's been kind enough to show up, and a lot of names here like Jimmy Langford and Louis J. Cast Iron Cooking. And hello, D Pal Pal. Yes, my lamb mold is in the other room. And by the way, I haven't forgotten that Easter is this weekend, and I do indeed intend to devote my time to making a lamb cake by this weekend. So, because this is the week for it, of course. And hello to Rick Stumbo and Corey Clark and Anthony and 4Jim44, Pat Z, Rocket Caver. And hello, so many others. Hello to everybody who's been kind enough to show up here. Currently, we're seeing 38 people here, according to the count. So, even for those who are just lurking, well, welcome. And I can only hope you enjoy yourself tonight. Yes, hello, BuzzFork8. I'm here to learn. Well, so am I. I am learning just about every time I do one of these, even when it comes to doing something like a stir fry, which is indeed so easy to do, and yet I always learn something new when I do these. So I can only once again thank everybody for being kind enough here to take a look, because yes, we did promise that we would be doing a wok video tonight, and actually, it's been pointing out, that there should really be more wok cooking on this channel, because woks are, of course, such an essential cooking tool to what, half the world's population at least. So, and I certainly like enjoying and using them myself. I mean, after all, I've said enough times that my cast iron wok was the first piece of cast iron that I actually chose to get for myself when I was first caught by the cooking bug in about January of 2011. And yes, it was in fact this very same wok that I bought back then. So we're talking like 13 years ago. But here it is, nonetheless, the Lodge cast iron wok, the 14-inch so-called Pro Logic cast iron wok that I've gotten a ton of use out of and abuse. Somehow over the past 13 years, I actually managed to warp this wok, but it still works just fine. And I have it heating here on the stovetop. Whereas also here on the stovetop, we have once again the aluminum Magnolite Dutch oven. And what I'm doing here is heating some water to a boil. It has not yet come to a boil, but hopefully it's getting close. Actually, what I should do is add a little bit of oil to the water. And the reason why is I have talked about this technique before, and so far it has served me well. So we're going to be doing velveting once again tonight. Velveting is literally an ancient Chinese secret, well, maybe not so ancient, that really helps for softening and tenderizing the meats that you use in your stir fries. And I myself have had a lot of good luck with it. So hello, BuzzFork8. I cannot use a wok until I master the flat skillet. I would say go ahead and give a wok a try. I haven't mastered the flat skillet yet either, and yet I very much enjoy using it as well as using my wok. So I would indeed want to say, dude, no reason not to give it a try if you like it. So yeah, Louis J, love to see wok action. Yes, indeed, walk and roll, as they say, or warp this way. Yes, and I've done this. I've done that too. In fact, you could even say walk this way. Yeah, that wok is already smoking. Yeah, and I'm so glad about that too. I had to be sure. I only started preheating this wok about 10 minutes ago. So I'm doing pretty good here. What I'm really waiting for though is for this water to come to a boil. I probably should have started heating that up a little earlier than I did, unfortunately. But nonetheless, there's still plenty of time for us to do a good stir fry tonight. Yeah, warp factor. Watching on my TV where my kiddos are lounging with their tablets playing games. Well, that's exactly what I'm doing. Here I am in my kitchen, and I am using my laptop here to play this game, the cooking game, one that I've had a lot of fun with. So I have the smaller wok too, with handles similar to that one. Yeah, this is the wok from uh, Lodge Cast Iron's apparently now discontinued Pro Logic series. This is something that they started. When did they start this? In the 1990s, perhaps? Maybe the 2000s? Anyway, Lodge had the idea of producing a series of cast iron pans with a futuristic look, and they called it Pro Logic. And that was when they had called their standard pans Lodge Logic. But they called these Pro Logic. The idea, again, was that they had a futuristic look, and there were absolutely no angles or sharp corners anywhere at all on these pieces of cast iron. They all had rounded edges, including the handles of this wok, as you can see. Finally, Lodge discontinued the Pro Logic line. I can only say that some pieces in the Pro Logic line were more popular than others. I don't think the skillets they designed for the Pro Logic line really sold that well because you never see them. But nonetheless, this was popular enough that Lodge, even though they discontinued it, they simply redesigned it, and now the wok that they are selling today is still 14 inches in diameter, which is a good size, but they have their standard handles on here now. The very same handles they have in all of their cast iron pans now. Their skillets, 8 inches. Oh, good. And I do believe the water is boiling now, so that's good. All right. That means we can actually get started here with our first step. And that means we can take a look at our ingredients here, which is pretty simple over here. I've got some broccoli and some mushrooms, and here I chopped up a lot of onion and some ginger. And also here, earlier this morning, I made some rice. So we actually do have pre-prepared rice for this. And what we have here is the chicken. And I might have actually prepared too much chicken, unfortunately. Now, this chicken has been marinating all afternoon in a combination of egg whites, vinegar, some salt, and what was the other one? Cornstarch. Yes. Um, Now, usually when they talk about marinating the meat for making your stir fry, they usually say to add soy sauce to it as well. However, interestingly enough, this recipe for velveting doesn't do that. It just simply recommends using this. I think it's probably the vinegar in this more than anything else that actually tenderizes this meat. But yeah, I've got more than enough chicken here, quite frankly, for a stir fry. So I'm probably gonna have to do two batches of this chicken. In fact, I thought the ProLogic was 2002 to 2012. Jimmy Langford, you might be correct. You're probably more accurate about that than I am. Um, in that case, as I mentioned, I got into this cast iron kick in about 2010, so the ProLogic series was still being produced in that case. I have the 12-inch ProLogic. It's heavier than I prefer, but I still love cooking in it. Tried to get the Year of the Dragon pan last night. Sold out. Really? It's sold out? Well, that's actually interesting. I didn't expect that. On the other hand, I can certainly understand why, because that is a very nice design on that pan, and I'm glad to have been able to score that. Yeah, we'll bring. I think I'll bring that out a little later. But right now, as I said, what we are doing is what again a technique called velveting. I learned about this pretty much when I stumbled across it on the internet and was intrigued enough to try it, and I thought it turned out really good. So that means let me get another bowl here. And actually, I think we'll need to do it this way. Yeah, that's a pretty good view here. All right. Actually, on top of that, let's move this out of the way. And here comes the chicken. Now, the thing with velveting, this technique is a little unusual in that we're actually going to be blanching the chicken in this combination of boiling water and some oil mixed in, and we're only going to be doing this for about a minute or so. I'll be because that's according to the technique. That's all we really need to do. And so far, I have to say it's worked pretty well. So as I mentioned, I've been marinating this chicken, and in it goes, and a little bit more. Whoops! Oh, great! I dropped a piece. Well, I've got so much of it here that I won't lose anything. So we'll just keep this in for about a minute. Maybe I should even turn up the heat a little bit. Probably because this chicken was cold, it might have lowered the temperature. So, but as I said, all we are doing is marinating it. I'm sorry, is just again blanching it for about 1 minute or so. I think I'll throw in maybe one more piece. Looks like I'm gonna have another batch, in fact. So when this is all done, I might be able to just simply stir fry up some more chicken. When first I got into cast iron, I was watching Cast Iron Fan opening his new Wok and badly dreamed of one. And all and behold, that same week I found his older one. Nice. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Cynthia. Did you change your VPN to be able to purchase? I'm sorry. I'm not. Oh, I see. Maybe you're talking about somebody else. I think. Yeah. I like the rounded insides, like a chef pan. Okay. My well, she's not my girlfriend. We are just friends, honestly. But she's actually not here this evening, although she has asked me for a plate. So anyway, I've had this in the water for only about a minute or so, and I'm bringing it out now. And this looks, I'd have to say, there we go. This looks pretty good already. So we're off to a decent start here. Let's pull out the rest of these pieces. And this and that and a little bit more. All right. And once we get all this done, I'm just going to put this aside because, as I mentioned, I think I could very well do another batch of this chicken probably after this is all over. However, first we are going to do a stir fry. That's interesting. It looks like it's boiling more now that I've taken the chicken out of the water. Okay. Nonetheless, do I have all of it? It looks like I think I have, oh, I think I saw one more piece, except now, of course, I can't find it. I'm pretty sure, well, okay, one more small piece. So that's not a bad start for the chicken. So in that case, I will start with that. So right now, let's turn, actually, I don't want to, yeah, I do right now, just to be safe. I want to turn that off. Where did I put that lid? Here it is. Put this to the side. That means because these handles are hot, move this over for the moment so that we can bring out Star the Shoe. Okay, I'll turn this one off as well. And that would be the very hot Lodge cast iron wok. All right, and now let's turn that heat back on again. There we go. So that way, this wok will indeed be good and hot. And that means it's time to get some stir frying done. However, I've got that other pot of hot water. Now I can move that to the other side and keep it out of the way. There we go. Safety first. All right, and having done that, Okay, cast iron's not cheap and they don't accept food stamps. So you sell blood every week to purchase cast iron? Well, I haven't tried selling blood yet. Maybe I might do that in about a week or so. Okay, but let's see how hot this wok is right now. And we show, oh yeah, we're definitely over 550 degrees. I like that. This is definitely a good temperature. And this is the whole point of having the Lodge cast iron wok. If you don't, I mean, if your stove is not the kind that can handle one of those thin woks, then definitely this thick, heavy wok is the one for you, because as you saw just now, that's definitely, definitely have the temperature to do a decent stir fry. So that means let's just simply add a little bit of oil to the pan. And it's time to take out my magic wand. I think I mentioned this one in a video only about a week or so. Here is my chan, my wok shovel. And I cannot speak highly enough of this. These things, as I've said enough times before, you can get these wok shovels just about anywhere, especially at foreign markets. But you can even get them at places like Wally World these days. And believe me, there is nothing, and I mean nothing, like using a wok shovel in a wok. These things are designed especially for use in a wok, and it is the best wok spatula that you can have. I really cannot emphasize that enough. You definitely need one of these if you're going to be doing any kind of wok cooking at all. And having said that, let us start. Right now, at the moment, whoa, a little bit of extra water in there. Okay, well, that's a fun way to start. Maybe I should have drained the extra water out. I'm sure you can hear that even here with this microphone. Boy, this is a large piece of chicken. Okay. In fact, this is turning out to be less chicken than I thought. Maybe I should have even added more. Nah, this is about the right size. Anyway, the whole point of blanching this marinated meat was, again, to make the chicken softer. As has been put out, when you get takeout chicken, from just about any Chinese place. You know how the chicken always seems to be so tender, much more tender typically than if you do it in a stir fry yourself. And apparently, velveting is one of the ways they use to actually get this chicken so tender. And as I said, I've tried this recipe. I've tried this technique myself, and I am definitely a fan of it as well. So far, as you can see, I'm just giving this a basic stir fry. I even haven't added any seasonings to it yet. Those are going to come a little later, because after this chicken is done, then we're going to get down to some real stir fry. That's when we will add our seasonings, our vegetables, our rice, and then the cooked chicken. That's the other thing about stir frying, in that it is certainly possible to just throw everything together in your pan and stir fry it all up. But if you actually follow a procedure, you find that you can get more thoroughly cooked food, especially ones that take a long time to cook, like meat or broccoli, which is another thing that we're doing tonight. Anyway, Fuzz Cast Iron IRL. I sell beeswax seasoning and do cast iron restoration to fund my cast iron habit. Yes, I know the feeling. There are quite a few folks out there who do, who do that. I'm not sure if you're the same cast iron IRL. No, you're not the same as the other vendor who's been showing up here recently. Great. I can't believe I've forgotten his name already, but he's been doing a lot of TikToks lately. And he's been kind enough to tag me in a number of his videos, but I can't believe this. My mind must be going blank or something. Either Huey or something like that. But yeah, he also is a cast iron vendor. However, he is definitely one of the nicer vendors that I've dealt with. I can think of one vendor whose name I will not mention because I don't like drama, who actually asked me to take it when I reposted one of his videos because I liked it. He asked me to take it down because of copyright, and then he blocked me on TikTok and Facebook, and I have not heard a word from him since. Probably better that way. Anyway, the other thing about stir frying meat, especially things like chicken or pork, is what you want to do is just keep on frying it until it is no longer bouncy and rubbery, and you can actually cut a piece of the meat in half with your spatula. And look at that. That sure isn't taking long, is it? But nonetheless, I'm going to keep on going, especially since a couple of these pieces of meat are a little bigger than I expected. Let me try cutting this one. Yeah, so even though my spatula is cutting it, I don't think it is quite done on the inside yet. But still, we're off to a decent start here. However, I noticed that this really has not seared at this point. So, you know, I may actually, after this, after I clean off the wok, I think I may actually put it back in and sear it for a second time. You know, that actually doesn't sound like a bad plan. Of course, even though I'm using a gas stove and I've got this cast iron wok here, I am never going to match the blasting heat that you can get that they have at pretty much any actual Chinese restaurant, especially the ones here in the United States. You know, those are the ones that use like those rocket engines or those propane burners, I should say, for their stoves. I don't have one of those, and so this is why I'm just going to have to manage with what I have here. It does take a little longer, in fact, maybe even a lot longer than what you get at the restaurant. But I feel that in the end, the quality probably approaches it. Right. What's your heat on your burner at the moment? At this moment, I have the burner at about 3/4 of high. I mean, my burner goes to 11, interestingly enough, and at this moment, I have it set on 7, and now I've just turned it up to 8. So, which is generally high enough. I mean, after all, you saw that in the beginning, this wok had heated up to 550 degrees, at least in the sweet spot. So that is definitely enough. But I think the fact that, again, there's a lot of liquid here and this is not dry, that's likely the reason why this hasn't really seared much. So I think I'm going to do my best to remedy that. That means, first, let me quickly rinse out that pan, that bowl that I originally had some of that chicken in. There we go. And dig out a dry this bowl out. And now for that, I think I will get this chicken out of here. I mean, the wok is still plenty hot. There's no denying that. And now that I've done this much, and this was originally a lot of oil too. I did add some oil to the wok. So, having done that, I'm hoping doing it just like this will help to evaporate whatever water might be left in it. And then we will give it a second fry. Okay, I do still have this thing up plenty hot too. There's no denying that. Come on. Let's see, we've actually given it something of a coat. Oh, the reason why there's a coating here is because I had used egg whites as part of the marinade. I mean, that's probably why it seems to have developed this kind of a crust here. I'm not worried about it at all, quite frankly. As long as we can be sure that this is hot enough. In fact, let me break out that thermometer right now. Yeah, see, right now it says 350, 360. So Let me get it up a little bit more here. Randy Maple, I found a one-notch hammered number 3 in an old barn last week. Well, congratulations. That certainly is quite a find. And you never know where they're going to show up. Cynthia Wesley. First, I couldn't find my number 7s of either series, found 2 more, and then the original ones reappeared. Yes, I know that feeling. Hi, Louie. Hope you are working out the new stove. You can disprove it with cooking wine. Oh, I think you're talking about deglaze it, I believe. Missed what was on the menu today. Well, so far I've done the first step of heating up some chicken. But even though the chicken has cooked, it really hasn't seared very much, and I intend to do something about that. So that's why I have taken it out of the wok, and I am reheating up the oil to a decent temperature here. Yeah, because at this point, I'm convinced that it is definitely oil left in the wok here. The water has almost certainly evaporated. Now that we've done that, we are up here. So far, it's still only showing. Okay, well, now we're getting over 400. So this is pretty good. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes here. Boy, I was worried that this stir fry would be done too soon, but evidently that's not going to be the case. Of course, again, because I am here doing this live and talking through every single step as well as taking my time on it, this stir fry is taking a lot longer to finish than if you were doing it there at home. So that's pretty much how it is, which again is why I'm not too worried about it. All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, Patricia Parsons. Nice to see you here. Val, I do the same at 10 every night. Hello. And she could walk home, but I'm a mom and not crazy about the neighborhood last night. Oh, well, yeah, you do live, I believe, if I remember right, in upstate New York. So I can certainly understand your concern there. Whoops. Whoa. Something happened. Anyway, let's get these extra pieces off the spatula. I'll bet this would be good enough to eat as it is. Very hot, but definitely, and it has a nice chicken taste to it too. Okay. At this point, I think let's continue. Over here in the sink, meanwhile, I am also going to drain off the extra. Should I drain this in the sink? This may be like, if this is oil, I probably shouldn't. So I've just put another bowl in the sink. There we go, a little bit of extra grease. And having done that, I think we are ready for part 2 here. Let's see what happens this time. There we go. Now I think we're getting what we wanted. Yes, searing in cast iron is something that I still have difficulty with, even after years of using my cast iron. But nonetheless, let's do this, and then let's throw on a lid. Okay. Yes, I love the wok. Exactly. Yeah, drain and pat dry, or you will get another flare up. Well, that's why I put the lid on there for Morris family, so that I can prevent any further flare ups. Hello, Mercy and Hogwild. Yeah, that's the one. Hogwild. That's the person I was talking about earlier. I was mentioning that Hogwild is another one who's been showing up regularly here, and he's another cast iron vendor. But as I mentioned already, it seems like he's one of the nicer vendors that I have encountered, at least here on the internet. So yeah, now we're starting to get somewhere. Now it's definitely starting to look like some proper seared chicken. Anyway, now that we've done that, what kind of stir fry? This is going to be a pretty simple chicken and broccoli stir fry. Louis J, hi, I'm learning the temperature range of the burners. I finally used it last night. I'm happy it heated my skillets evenly since all the burners are the same. Nice. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Louis J. I can only hope you get a lot of good use out of your stove and, of course, out of your pans. Set up my lye tank today. Spring cleaning set to begin. Yes, Mark Sieber. I actually need to do that as well. I have a couple of pieces that I definitely need to re-season. There we go. Now it's looking more like you would expect from chicken done in a wok. So this chicken, oh, it's definitely done too. No question about that. As I mentioned, if you can cut the pieces apart with your spatula with no difficulty, the meat is definitely done. So there we go. Glad we took the extra step. Well, let's get this out of here. And now after this, we can finally get down to some stir frying. There we go. That's looking a little better. Okay. All right. I just uploaded my cast iron Wednesday video. Tagine pork. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. Tagine. I had one of those several years ago, but ended up not getting rid of it for personal reasons. But yeah, tagine is a nice stovetop slow cooker, and you could certainly get a lot of use out of it too, in that way. But let's get on with this, shall we? Throw in a little bit more fresh oil, and now we can finally get down to business here, which means we start off with. I've got here. I chopped up about half an onion, which actually gave more onion than I expected, and some ginger. So now here's where the rest of it goes fast, because we certainly don't want this to burn, which is all too easy to do here when you are stir frying onions and ginger in a hot wok. Oh boy, I love the smell of that. Which means the next thing is some minced garlic. And yeah, I'm cheating, I know. But actually, the good thing is that I remember the fresh ginger. I always seem to be out of that. But so far, so good. So far, I think we're off to a decent start here. Oh yeah, what's more, it's also helping to deglaze the pan too. Probably the acidity from the onions thing. But nice. This now we're definitely getting somewhere. So that means now let's add the broccoli. And broccoli is a hard vegetable or a tough vegetable. So this is the next step. I mean, once we're done with the broccoli, we are probably more than halfway done with this entire stir fry. We do have a couple of other crucial ingredients to do, but the broccoli is really the one that we need to be sure we get nice and soft. So I may end up covering the pan once again to help soften the broccoli. However, if nothing else, everything has absorbed all the oil at this point. And what's more, much of that coating here seems to have been absorbed too. So far, so good. Get the rest of these off of here. Anyway, yeah, as I mentioned, a wok is one of those things that I think people will either love or hate. Personally, I love it. As I said, it was in January of 2011 that I used an Amazon gift card that I gotten for Christmas to get the very first piece of cast iron that I actually wanted to get for myself, and it was this wok. It was in this wok that I learned a lot about cooking in cast iron, including heating up the food, including heating up the wok far too high, because in those days I was cooking on an electric stove and blasting it on the very highest setting regularly. So while this definitely got the wok hot, it would actually get it. It would actually get it too hot. How can it be too hot? Well, here's an example. This wok was so hot. How hot was it that when I threw ground pepper into the wok, the bare wok, the pepper would immediately not just burn, but it would glow red hot, just like that, poof, and burn. That's how hot it was. It was so hot that when a lot of times when I added some oils to the pan, especially bacon grease, it would poof, burst into flame just like that, and cause a minor grease fire. I learned to control those pretty quickly, yeah, but that was definitely my one of my life lessons. It certainly taught me that I was definitely heating up my cast iron too hot. And I know that is a lesson that a lot of people learn when they're cooking in cast iron. So, yeah, it was definitely, as I said, a learning experience. All right, let me throw this cover on right now again. Cover is very useful. It helps to steam or braise it as well while it's cooking. Hello, Hogwild, Cast Iron Restoration. Oops, I just restored 2 Scotch bowls, a 3 and a 5 gate mark. The 5 reminds me of my wok. Yeah, you could actually call it a mini wok, and there's no reason why you couldn't use it as one. I mean, after all, it's shaped about the same way. So I've seen people use, say, for instance, vintage Wagner Scotch bowls as woks. I hated broccoli until I had it fried in chicken fat. The sliced stalks are good too. I'm one of those strange people who's enjoyed broccoli my entire life. No need to pre-cook my broccoli. I just take the chicken out, cook the broccoli, add chicken, and then the sauce. Oh, that all sounds good too. All right. This is going to be a very simple and basic stir fry here, in that while I do have hoisin sauce, I'm not going to be using it here. I'm just going to be using, aside from the usual salt and pepper, I'm going to be using some dark soy sauce and throwing in a little bit of sesame oil as well. So, I mean, considering that we also have garlic, onions, and ginger, which I think I better be careful that I don't, again, I don't burn it. I have no doubt there's going to be a fair amount of flavor. However, now that we've gotten to this point, we are now finally at the point where we can actually go on and add another crucial ingredient. And here's where, let us get out some rice. I boiled this rice earlier this morning, and then I covered it and put it in the fridge where it's been sitting since this morning, because because for a proper stir fry you are in fact supposed to use pre-cooked rice. It is, yes. I mean, you can see that it is all clumped together. That's what rice does. But that's essentially what we're going to be doing, and this should probably be enough, in fact. Because now it's just a matter of heating it all up. I recently made a friend of a lovely lady who has 5 kids, 3 of whom are still living with her. Um, she is Jamaican descent, and she loves making rice, but she doesn't have a wok. So I don't think she's had many opportunities to use up her leftover rice and make fried rice. That's something I'm going to have to remedy as soon as we can. Nonetheless, okay, I can definitely see that it's time to add a little bit more oil. And notice, by the way, I don't pour the oil onto the food. You pour it around the food. Whoops, I kind of goofed there. You pour it around the food and let it seep under. Let me get out my glove here. There we go. There we go. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Meanwhile, the rice is breaking up, no longer in big clumps, because it's, of course, absorbing the hot oil and the seasonings. All right. And one thing I have not yet done is salt and pepper. So here comes some salt. And, of course, the old pepper mill. Now we're definitely getting ourselves a decent stir fry here. And that's interesting. Now it's only 20 minutes of 9, whereas, I mean, it took almost this much time. I'd say probably more than 20 minutes just to fry up that chicken, whereas it's taken less time than that to do all the rest of these ingredients, including the broccoli. So on the whole, we're still not doing too badly. And like I said, I'm definitely taking longer here on this video, in this YouTube live here, than it would take for you to do this kind of a stir fry at home. All right, now at this point, I feel like we can probably even add the soy sauce. Oh yeah, I could definitely smell that too. There we go. Oh, we are most definitely getting somewhere. Nice. Make sure it's all spread out. I mean, obviously, because of the coloring of the rice, you could tell that the soy sauce is getting into everything, which is what I want to do. And from here, for a little bit of extra flavor, I'm going to throw in a little bit of sesame oil too. I'll never forget that in a previous life, I knew someone who said she had a fatal allergy to sesame, that supposedly this stuff would have killed her. Although that was literally decades ago at this point. I should really ask if somebody can verify that, if you can actually have a fatal allergy to sesame. All right. Meanwhile, okay, Deep Hell Pal, I can already feel the venom from the Chinese cooking folks. Oh, okay. I can tell if yeah. Well, among other things, the fact that I'm using this heavy cast iron wok and not tossing the food around, that's one reason why. I have no doubt I probably have done a couple of things wrong as well, like frying that chicken twice, for instance. However, I've done my best to use the standard ingredients here. I used garlic, I used ginger, onions, and again we have pre-cooked rice as well as the broccoli, which means now that we've gotten this far, I do believe it's time to add the chicken back in. Which means we are getting close, aren't we? Yeah, this is the other part of cooking, and another reason why wok cooking is so popular. I mean, a lot of times, all the wok is a big reheater. I mean, we add a lot of pre-cooked food to the wok in these kind of recipes, especially things like fried rice. But yeah, now at this point, we're already getting to the point where we are close to done here. And this last part here really didn't take long. The hardest part was simply cooking that chicken. In fact, if I had used pre-cooked chicken, this would have taken even faster. So imagine just simply using pre-cooked chicken in a stir fry like this. Hi. Uncle Roger is gonna go ape shit. Well, Uncle Roger can go ape shit because I have not claimed to be a traditional cook. I do a lot of things different because I like it. And personally, and this is only my opinion, I'm not the biggest fan of Uncle Roger. I feel that he is too much of an insult comedian for my personal taste. Not as bad as some, but a lot of his shtick comes from insulting people. However, as I said, I'm not really going to get much into that. That is largely my opinion. I am not a fan of that kind of comedy. I'm not a fan, really, of making fun of people, except the ones who deserve it. We were tougher in the 60s and 70s. There are various theories about allergy incident increase. For example, gluten intolerance may be from the hybridization of wheat. Um, Actually, my opinion again of gluten intolerance is stupid health fed fairy tales. Seriously. I honestly believe I probably as much as 90% of the so-called gluten intolerance that we see is imaginary. It's made up like conspiracy theories. Yes, I know very well that there is actually real gluten uh, in reaction, especially if you are celiac. I'm very much aware of that. However, celiac disease is a rare occurrence, like maybe about 1% of the population. It is hereditary. You cannot develop celiac disease. So that means that a lot of people are actually imagining their so-called gluten intolerance. I can think of one time when I actually went on a camping trip on this new age pagan spiritual campsite or the like. And that year I did a lot of cooking that they all enjoyed, except for the one night when I made a big pot of pasta. Then maybe about one out of every three people there refused to eat it because, oh, I'm gluten free. So, no, I don't have a lot of sympathy for most of this gluten intolerance stuff. However, you know what I do have a good tolerance for? Mushrooms. God, I love mushrooms. And that, in fact, is the last step here. As you can see, again, this is a very basic stir fry here. I barely added any seasonings because, yeah, I know that's how I am. And I know I have a friend who says, where's the seasoning? But I have definitely added seasonings to this. I've added the soy sauce and the sesame oil, as well as the ginger and the garlic and the, what else? Ginger, garlic, and I missed one, and onions. So, quite frankly, even though this is a basic stir fry here, I could always mix in some hoisin sauce too, and maybe I will do that because I know that the people I'm cooking for, they do like a lot of seasoning. So, I think I will do two things. One is I will put the lid back on to help cook these mushrooms. Two, I will answer these comments here. A fungus among us. Yes, indeed, I love eating fungus. Celiac and lactose intolerance is almost exclusively American. Yes. Well, you can develop lactose intolerance. That is actually true. Okay. We walked 5 miles to school uphill in the snow both ways. Yes, so did I when I was a kid. I know that very well. My granddaughter doesn't like mushrooms. I have no idea where she comes from. Oh, well, maybe she's adopted and nobody told anyone. I'm joking. Wash your sister's sauce. I could get out some of that stuff, yes. That's another one of my little pet peeves. I know it's a long running internet joke to mispronounce Worcestershire sauce. You know, Worcester sauce. Wash your sister's sauce. Maybe it's because I grew up loving Worcestershire sauce all my life, and maybe it's because I grew up in Massachusetts where we have the town of Worcester. So I'm very familiar with pronouncing Worcestershire sauce, but that's just me. I don't remember being cold when I was young either. Well, that depends on where you grew up, Louis J. I've lived in New England my entire life until I moved here to New York 2 years ago. I would play all day with my friends outside till the sun went down. The hubby and daughter have allergies to shrooms. Makes me sad. Well, that I definitely, honestly, and no kidding, I offer my condolences for that, Val. Sorry to hear that. My grandmother walked 2 miles and rode across the river, then walked another mile to school. Facts. Yes, indeed. When I was young, we had to chop down our own trees and make paper to print out the textbooks. You get the idea. Anyway, now there we go. As I mentioned, it took. We are now at this particular stir fry has taken about 45 to 50 minutes. Half of it was cooking this chicken. So the rest of this really did not take this very long. So imagine if you went to work, put some chicken in the crock pot in the morning, and so when you got home from work, you know, that chicken, of course, would be falling off the bone. Then you could simply make yourself a decent stir fry, such as what we have here. So there we go. Here is a chicken and broccoli stir fry with rice, along with all of the usual seasonings. So yeah, this is something I am quite happy to have done. I'm not done tonight. I mean, I know we still have some time left, and what's more, I still have some chicken left too. Right now, though, I've got to get this out of the. Is this bowl too small? This bowl is probably too small. Let me dig up a bigger bowl here, or two. Okay. Oh yeah, of course. What else should I use? But this bowl. I'm sure folks are familiar with this bowl. All right. Let's get this out of the way. I still have the heat on. I have not turned off the heat because I'm pretty tempted to just try frying up the rest of that chicken there. What's more, I do have more rice. Oh, this rice actually clumps up. Okay. Well, then better take care of that. Oh, I see. This is like that crust from the bottom of the wok. Nice. So we've got ourselves some pagao here. Chinese pagao, or I'm not even sure what the Chinese word is for pagao, but I know they have it. I mean, they make rice. They've got to be familiar with the rice crust that forms when you cook food. Anyway, little by little. Speaking of which, okay, I can see I'm going to have to deglaze this, in fact. Oh, there we go. Now we're getting somewhere. And this is one reason why I like using a nice metal wok spatula. By the way, you look, I'm using metal on cast iron. Oh no, I'm going to break it. I'm going to ruin the seasoning. Come on, there we go. Now we got it. All right, much better. Oh, so far so good, folks. Here is our stir fry. All right, having done that, wait. Okay, Mark Sieber, different school. My grandmother went to a one-room schoolhouse in southern Missouri. Throw some soy sauce in to release the fond if needed. I can't ruin my seasoning no matter how hard I try. Sounds like you've got a well-seasoned cast iron pan, Deep Pal Pal. Don't break your shovel. Yeah, that's the one thing I suppose one of these days I could do this. I mean, you can see it's pretty thin metal, but this thing is held up very, very nicely. Maybe because of the fact that it's folded steel, perhaps. I mean, if you can see it, if you can see the design okay on the underneath, you'll see that this is folded steel. But this is definitely much more sturdy than those folded steel skillets that we see at antique stores. All right, gonna try a little bit of this right off of the spatula. Because why not? It's my kitchen, my cooties. Oh, this is nice stuff. Whoops. All right, get this back out of here. Come on. There we go. Mm, mm, mm. So far, so good. All right. While we're waiting here, cowboy skillets is what they're called around here. Uncle Roger is getting wound up now. Well, if Uncle Roger were to come by and say everything that's wrong with my stir fry, that's good. Number one, I accept criticism, as I've told people, as I've said enough times before. And number two, it would get me some exposure, so that wouldn't be a bad thing either. So I frankly would not mind if Uncle Roger stopped by. However, while we're waiting, okay, and let's see what else we have. Yummies. Well, thank you very much for that. I can't see ruin my seasoning. Since the 3M lead test kits were discontinued, is there another good kit available? Rocket Caver, I have not yet found a good one. There is an alternative test strip available that you can order from Home Depot, and I actually reviewed it about a year ago. It works, but man, is it ever overpriced and cheap. What you get for about $8 is two very, very tiny strips of chemical treated paper. And that's barely enough to, as I found, to test maybe one cast iron pan. So that's not much, unfortunately. All right, as I said, I still have the rest of all this meat here. So that's one reason why I'm still heating up this wok here. You can see this wok is starting to steam. So let me drain off some of the extra marinade that we have here, because I really don't want another flare up. But all this is marinated chicken. Let me drain it one more time. And with that, carefully, oh yeah, it would help, I think, if I added some more oil to the pan. This is the part where the chaos comes in, folks. Here's the question. Is it going to flare up? Am I going to burn down my kitchen? I certainly hope not. Of course, I wouldn't be doing this if I thought there was a chance that that would happen, honestly. But let's take some more of this meat and see what happens. There we go. Much better. I didn't do the velveting this time. All I did was I took the marinated meat. And now we will see whether we can get the rest of this chicken cooked. Considering that last batch of chicken actually turned out to be a lot less than I expected. There we go. Anyway, if you get the impression that I'm really fond of using this cast iron wok, you are correct. I've gotten, as I mentioned, I've probably used this wok for maybe about once a week or so for the past 13 years now. So I very much enjoy it, and I'm very used to using it, fortunately. And even it's gotten to the point where, when you folks suggested we do more wok cooking here on this channel, I'm seriously thinking whether or not maybe I should do the last Wednesday of every month, make that Wok Wednesday. Because I know next week is the first Wednesday of the month, and that's when we do our Q&A session. But I mean, what if we end it with Wok Wednesday? Well, maybe not. I mean, that would mean there are only 2 other weeks in the month to do other things. Well, we'll work it out. All right. I had a bowl like that in a set. It warmed and we tossed it out. Well, that is a pretty cheap bowl. I do like velveted chicken and beef, and I like to smash both with a tenderizer hammer. Yeah, take out your frustrations that way. Uncle Roger is a millennial dude that roasts people's cooking abilities. Yeah, that's pretty much his shtick, de pal. And that's why, as I said, essentially he's an insult comedian. And there is a time and a place for insult comedians. So I'm not dissing him off completely. In general, as I said, he's not my thing, and I really don't watch Uncle Roger regularly. I did see the video recently where he visited Kent Rollins, and the two of them cooked some fried rice together, and they did it cowboy style, and Uncle Roger liked it, so good for him, and good for Kent Rollins. But even though I wouldn't mind the exposure from someone like Uncle Roger, given the opportunity, I think I would rather meet someone who I am a fan of. Like, I don't know, Brian Lagerstrom, perhaps. Or maybe some of my friends here on this channel. Well, I think an opportunity is going to be coming up where I hope I might actually be able to meet some of you folks. And that opportunity, of course, is in a little less than a month. It's also known as the National Cornbread Festival. I'm not going to say any more at the moment. But right now, all right, once again, this is cooking, but I'm not getting any real browning on this again. There's probably just too much liquid in it. So maybe I will just cook it until it's done and then do what I did before. Take it out of the pan, remove the liquid, and then do it again. It's still going to taste good, but it definitely tastes better, when it's seared. I would rather meet Jeff Rogers. Yeah, Jeff Rogers is a really nice guy. And I have met him several times, in fact, at the National Cornbread Festival. I've met him. I've met his family. I've eaten, we've attempted to eat barbecue. That's one thing I learned. It's been 6 years since I last went to South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, and maybe the situation has changed. However, there is no decent barbecue in the area of South Pittsburgh, or there was no decent barbecue the last time I was there. One time when I was there with Jeff, in fact, Jeff Rogers, he was determined to find some decent barbecue. He really had a hankering for it. And we got into his SUV, and we went to a couple of towns all in the area of South Pittsburgh. Could not find anything close to a decent barbecue. We finally ended up going to Cracker Barrel, in fact. So that's something to consider, unfortunately. On the other hand, Jeff, I was glad to be there with Jeff when we toured the Lodge factory. That was an experience, and that was a lot of fun too. There is a photo we put on our Facebook pages, and if you look on our Facebook pages, you will see it, where Jeff and I took turns holding at the Lodge Cast Iron Museum, no, the old Lodge Cast Iron Museum, we took turns holding the infamous acorn pan. Yes, they actually let us hold that pan for a photo op, and we took advantage of that. Yeah. So that is one of those little memories that I certainly treasure. It would be nice if Jeff does return to the Cornbread Festival. I'll drop him a message and see. Who knows? But even so, as I said, yeah, I wouldn't mind meeting a number of folks there. So we will see what happens in just about a month from now. However, even before that, there's one other event coming up that I'm really looking forward to, and that is 1 week from Monday, the total eclipse that is going to happen in a number of areas in the country, including Western New York. I have a hotel, a small motel room reserved in that area, so that I will be spending that time there with some dear friends, and hopefully we will get a good sighting of the eclipse. I'm very much looking forward to that. Meanwhile, other than that, getting even more close, even more recent, Easter is this weekend, as I'm sure a lot of folks know. And I am going to be having company for Easter. Remember I mentioned my friend of Jamaican descent. I've got to know what her internet name is, because I do not like using people's real names on the internet. Anyway, she and at least some of her kids, as well as another close friend of mine who, no, she's not my girlfriend. They're all going to be coming over here on Sunday for dinner. And especially because she is of Jamaican heritage, I'm going to be making jerk chicken. Yeah, jerk chicken, Jamaican jerk chicken for Easter. Because, well, one thing is she does not eat pork, so we can't have ham. So instead, I'm going to do jerk chicken. Also, plus some chicken rather than jerk. That's also going to be marinated in Binghamton Speedy sauce. And as sides for that, we will be having, what will we be having? We'll be having mac and cheese, collard greens, and I'm going to make my Boston baked beans for them. And finally, on top of all that, as I said, as I promised, I have to make a lamb cake too. So yes, we will be using the lamb mold. And Pal, I do indeed want to try doing a live video for that. I don't have it scheduled at this time. I'm hoping maybe by Friday or Saturday. I don't know yet. But I will do a video of it. And even if you or anyone can't make it, you can always watch the replay. For that matter, you can watch the replay of this video tonight too. Meanwhile, this chicken actually seems to be cooking pretty good, even though it's still not searing as well as I would have liked. So I think I'm going to have to do what I did before. Let's clean this bowl out like I did before. All right. Quickly wipe this out. And get the chicken into here. Then I'll do my best to get rid of the liquid. Nice smell to it, though, because of the vinegar. I will say that. Here is the chicken so far. Technically, you could eat the chicken already. But again, I want to get some good searing on this. Okay, Terry, don't let that bad experience stop you from going back to a different one. The one here is awesome, really. They figure about 10,000 in my city along the river for the eclipse. Nice. Yeah, you know, Val, I considered, I'm just simply going to go, I'm not going to be in a large town. I'm not going to Erie, or Buffalo for the eclipse, I've decided. I'm just going to be in a smaller town here in Western New York. And I'm only just going to find a public area like a park that won't be crowded full of people. And instead, we will do our own viewing of the eclipse, you know, without any radio stations playing and parties going on and other things like that. This is nice. And hopefully we'll get some good photos or maybe even a little bit of video of it. That's my hope. Anyway, so far so good. All right. That means, like we did before, need to drain some of this liquid here. There we go. Much better. Okay, and while we're waiting, all right, hello, RC Doodles. I often watch on Wednesday but don't comment. Question, are cast iron woks available in smaller sizes? As a matter of fact, Lodge has released, I'm hoping they're still producing them. I don't know if they discontinued. Lodge has actually released smaller sized woks. They re-released their 12-inch wok with the handle, and they even have a 9-inch mini wok. I do believe that is still available. You can look on Amazon or on Lodge's own website. So the answer to that is definitely yes. And of course, there are other brands too besides Lodge. I know. I mean, how dare you say something about cast iron makers other than Lodge? But nonetheless, that is true. You could indeed do that. All right. A little bit more oil. And with that, back in goes the chicken. Part 2. There we go. This is starting to look already more like what you would expect from a chicken stir fry. Which means I'd better season it now. Okay, so that means, what do we have here? There's some salt and some pepper. And since I don't have any more, well, I could use minced garlic actually. Where did I put that? Where did I put that? Oh, here it is. Here's the minced garlic. Throw in a little bit more of the minced garlic. All right, once again, now it looks like we're starting to get some chicken that looks like it's been stir-fried. So now we are indeed starting to get somewhere. All right, while we're waiting. Corey Clark, Cynthia Wesley, you had bad waiters. They serve other people that come in after you do and act like they didn't see you. Oh, I'm sorry about hear that. RC Doodles, thanks. I will check Lodge's website. Lodge 6.5 mini. Wow, 6.25. Well, that's a small wok, all right. The 9, the 12.5 inch, and the 14. Okay, well, you need to go with me. We'll take over their kitchen. They'll be glad to wait on us. Okay. All right. So far, so good. It sounds like I just got a Facebook message, too. And, oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I know what that is. One of the persons on my channel has just sent a photo. Well, thank you very much, Ken. And I won't say any more than that. All right, now we are starting to get somewhere with this chicken. Okay, while we're waiting, all right, they'll be glad to wait on us. Anyway, yeah, as I mentioned before, this again, though, this is completely different from your traditional Chinese or Asian wok in that it is not possible for me to pick up the food and throw it around. Not when this wok weighs 11 pounds and only has these short handles. So that is one thing I have barely done, and I have almost no experience with that, which is something I'm going to have to remedy one of these days. So when you folks talk about how Chinese, people from China are probably getting their mad on over the way I'm doing this stir fry, you're most likely correct, except that it still produces some tasty food here. So I, for one, am, and as I mentioned already, this wok here is especially designed for those of us in the United States who have cheap stoves. And there are many people in that kind of a situation. I was in that kind of a situation, and yet I still made all these videos, largely thanks to my cast iron, including the large cast iron wok. So, I mean, if you have one of those half-sized stoves, or if you are living in an apartment where the stove is practically broken and even the door doesn't stay on completely. Yes, unfortunately, there are many people like that, and I only offer my condolences. I am not insulting those people. That's just how it is. Things like that, a piece of cast iron such as this wok will go a long way. Of course, so will a crock pot. But yeah, exactly. As I said before, imagine using a crock pot to slow cook some chicken, and then you throw it into the large cast iron wok or some other cast iron wok and make a nice stir fry with it. Even on a lousy electric stove, well, you would definitely be living. As it stands, though, this chicken is definitely shrunk. So yeah, we are doing very nicely indeed. We're also getting into a decent amount of time, but now we're finally starting to get some good browning on this chicken, the way I was hoping. Because this is starting to look more like the kind of chicken you see in Chinese takeout. There we go. Now it's definitely getting more towards being browned. So let me do what I did before. Cover it one more time. And I've talked about this lid before too, by the way. This lid I got from an online wok supply store called the Wok Shop. And this is how lids are supposed to fit. Because when I was doing my research when I first got this wok, you are supposed to get a lid with a that's the rim is smaller than the rim of the actual wok itself because you get a better seal. It will rest more securely in the wok. So you do not want one that fits around the rim of the wok. You want it like this so that it fits slightly inside. This is either a 12 or a 13-inch lid. I think it's a 12-inch lid, in fact, versus a 14-inch wok. So, and this certainly helps too. I mean, as I said, it certainly helps to steam the chicken. Hog Wild, I worked in a deer processing plant and a diseased animal stinks. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, we have a say Chinese people don't have jet stoves, just the restaurants. They mostly use little tiny butane standalone burners. Yeah, exactly. So they're actually pretty much in the same situation we are. Um, which means that even there, in most instances, it's not going to take 5 minutes. Boy, did that thing. It's not going to take only 5 minutes to do a stir fry. However, you will still get a good stir fry because, of course, I've seen those wok burners as well that are designed especially for use on a stove with a wok, and they are nice. Oh, there we go. Now we are getting somewhere. Now this is really starting to look like, well, like I said, takeout chicken. This is more like it. All it really took was some patience. But now, thanks to this patience, we now have a nice set of chicken, which in fact, I will just simply throw on top of this already prepared bowl. I think I'll have this little piece. Num num num. I will throw on top of this bowl of stir fry so that there will be plenty of chicken to go around. But as a result, there we go. Definitely enough stir fry for at least a couple of people. Now we can turn off the burner. And as for the rest of this, I'd better get this out before it burns. So far, so good. Oh, yeah. Huh. In fact, I can't resist having just one little piece of this chicken here. Probably this one. Uh-huh. Hot, hot. Oh, hot, hot, hot. But it definitely has that Chinese takeout flavor. All right. Which means it looks like once again, though, I'm going to have to deglaze this. That's really not much of a problem. All it requires is patience more than anything else. There we go. So far, so good. Okay. Well, while we're waiting at this point, okay, this pan will also cook anything else but fried potatoes. A deer processor is different. Oh, yeah. I have a question. Seeing what stuck to the wok, I have a Wagner number 10, and it seems like every time I cook fried potatoes, it sticks bad. I have adjusted the heat. Anything else I can do? I might suggest maybe seriously try a different kind of oil, perhaps. What kind of oil are you using? Are you using lard? Are you using vegetable oil of some kind? Because I can only wonder. Yeah, adjusting the heat would indeed be the first thing I might suggest, but the other might really be to try a different kind of oil. And I'm not saying an expensive kind of oil, just maybe a different kind of oil, and see if you get better results here. Yeah, I will say that this probably has stuck more than a lot of stir fries have done. So I'm actually a bit surprised. Probably again because I marinated that chicken with egg whites and cornstarch. Even so, it's still not going to be hard to clean off. So I'm really not worried about that at all. Okay, I've tried olive oil and bacon grease. Then maybe I might suggest try a high smoke point oil, like perhaps corn oil, but that's only a suggestion. Okay, and Patricia Parsons, you will one day make a stir fry. Yes, you do not need a wok to make a stir fry. You know, you can do a stir fry in a cast iron skillet or a Dutch oven. It's only that I think that the wok is better. The wok is designed especially for stir frying. I mean, skillets, you know, you can do anything in a skillet, but what you do better than anything else in a wok is, in fact, stir frying. So this is one reason why if you have a chance to play with the wok, there we go. Now this stuff's coming out nicely. If you have a chance to play with a wok, then do so because you won't regret it. And now, nonetheless, though, before we head out, I think I had better do what I promised here. Excuse me 1 second as I walk into the living room here. And anyway, since we've been talking about China all evening, that's a good excuse to show this. There we go. Yes, indeed. I am quite happy to have acquired this. And don't mind me showing it off here, but I think folks may have wanted to see this. It is, in fact, the Lodge Year of the Dragon skillet. Yeah, I have not even taken off the label yet. You know, I've been debating about that, and I think I may actually take this with me with the label still on to the National Cornbread Festival because I do believe, if I remember right, there is actually a gathering of cast iron collectors at the Cornbread Festival. So if we wanted to bring something to show off, I'd say this might not be a bad thing to show off, especially since I got word from someone just today that apparently this Year of the Dragon skillet has sold out. Somebody sent me a message saying that they tried ordering it, and again, it was sold out. So who knows? I'm going to have to look into it and get more information about that. All right. Okay. I wish I knew what made chicken release like that. It releases when it's perfectly done. I get spam and eggs in my car on steel wok. Ooh, that all sounds good too. After the potatoes are cooked, turn off the heat and cover the pan. The potatoes should release. What size is that Dragon Lodge? It's a standard large 10-inch skillet. Like the vast majority of all of those designer skillets that Lodge has been releasing lately, that is a 10-inch. Just like their Dolly Parton one that they also released within the last week or so, along with some of their other collectors. Boy, Lodge has really been catering to the collectors market lately, haven't they? Well, I guess if it sells, then they probably feel that there's no reason why they couldn't do it. And, they may very well have a point. So, considering that, well, I still don't think there's any kind of a cast iron bubble out there because, after all, these pans are going to be used really for the rest of your life. So, unless you're a speculator, I really don't see anything bad about maybe, splurging at least once and picking up a fancy cast iron skillet, if as long as you feel you can have some use for it, even as a display piece. I still do what I can to make users out of all of my cast iron, and I will indeed be using this Year of the Dragon skillet. I already have an idea that I will be using that probably come May Day, the 1st of May, to help celebrate the that particular night. But anyway, all right. Eat pig feet or neck bones. I need a skillet with an ox on the bottom. Well, if you look around, Terry, I wouldn't be surprised if you can find one. VL VL triple X. I'm cheap and cast iron is indestructible, so my pans have always been hand me downs. Nothing wrong at all with that. I fully admit those designer pans I have are a luxury that I really don't need, even though I do my best to try to get some use out of them. I mean, if all you have is one cast iron skillet, well, then just go ahead and use it for the rest of your life. So, Trotters going spaghetti sauce, pig cheeks. I wanted to buy a wok from Traget. Yeah, I know, Target. You probably still could, or order it from Amazon, or you might even find it at TJ Maxx. So I might even suggest there where you may be able to find it at a really nice price. Or for that matter, if you are going to the National Cornbread Festival, remember that Lodge has their um, Lodge has their seconds room there, where they sell their so-called seconds cast iron pans. That's the one that are oh so tempting because they are at prices really about the same that you might find at Walmart. But the variety and the selection is much much better. It's been 6 years, and I'm definitely looking forward to visiting the Lodge Factory store again. But if you are going to the Lodge Factory store, kind of keep this in mind. Make yourself a list. If there's one thing that you really should look for at the Lodge Factory store, it would be lids or a lid for your cast iron. If you don't have one, you can find one at the Lodge store, and then there you go. You will have a lifetime of use for out of it. They also do have deals. Again, it's been 6 years, but I know they've done things like having a whole pile of number 5 8-inch skillets for like about $5 each, for example. So we're talking souvenirs or gifts. But I won't go much into detail about that because we still have a month yet. However, Celine77, when is the Cornbread Festival held? The last weekend in April. So we're talking about a month from now. Look it up online, National Cornbread Festival, and there's the website that will have all of the information that you need. I use salt pork on my beans and peas. That all sounds good too. All right, but at this point, we are starting to get on now, and I would have to say that we are at the point where it's time really to wrap things up because we are now an hour and a half into this, and yeah, we definitely accomplished what we set out to do. Here is our stir fry, a big stir fry no less, with a lot of chicken and rice and mushrooms. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying some of this as well as delivering this to my close friends. Is the Cornbread Festival in New York? It is in Tennessee. So yeah, it's going to be quite a trip. But I have always used this as an excuse to go on a road trip. So that's not a bad thing either. But yeah, I do believe it is time indeed to say our good nights here because, again, we are getting on in time here, especially since it's Wednesday evening. A lot of us, including me, do have to get up for work tomorrow. I've got this mess to clean up. And in addition, I now have to start getting ready for the weekend because, again, Easter is coming up and I've got things planned for it, including doing a lamb cake at some point in the next couple of days, as well as working on my April 1st video. And with any luck, you should be seeing that on April 1st. But most important of all, though, I always do want to thank all you folks for taking the time to stop by because that really helps. That makes this all the more satisfying. I mean, I love doing these live videos, but I say this every week because I mean it every week. That having you folks here commenting and watching and knowing that, well, I'm doing my best to entertain you really helps, and this really helps makes all these live videos a lot of fun. I've certainly enjoyed myself. I enjoy this little stir fry tonight, and I can only hope, if nothing else, it may have, well, you enjoyed watching, and maybe it inspired you to try doing some stir frying of your own. Not that I'm an especially good cook, but hopefully it was entertaining or looked good enough that you might want to try making it yourself or find a stir fry recipe that appeals to you because that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to using our cast iron, having fun, and making something delicious. I mean, that's really what it's there for, and I very much enjoy using it. So, thank you to everybody here, and good night, Cynthia Wesley, and everybody. I need both hands for this. You all have a very happy Easter, cast iron family. Yes, exactly, and to everybody else too. To Hog Wild, Cast Iron Restoration, and Val's Black Cat's Rules and Greg Hart. Well, thank you very much. Best part of Wednesday. Well, thank you very much. And hello, Betts and Patricia Parsons and William Hurt and Chris McGee and Corey Clark and Celine 77. Thank you everybody for taking the time here to spend some time in my kitchen tonight. And I look forward to seeing all of you again next week or even sooner because, as I said, we've got a lot of cooking coming this weekend. So everybody have fun cooking in your cast iron. I mean, that's really what it's there for. And we will roll around and do all of this again next week. So thank you once again. Next week is going to be our Q&A session, which is good. That means I get a break from cooking and we will just have some fun talking. So until then, see you next Wednesday.